There's the link for anybody that's wanting to come in tonight. How you doing today? Can you hear me, Michael?
Yeah, I can hear you.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. Just kidding.
Should we get started?
Sure.
Okay, so what we're going to talk about today is the symbolism, the way that these people work. And the title of the video is Symbolism Hidden in Plain Sight. And a lot of us that have woken up in years before already know a lot of the symbolism for example, like the one-eyed pyramid. Okay. And
But what does it mean?
the one-eyed pyramid means, we're going to go over that here.
I know what it means, but
I know, I want to
we can.
share it for people.
Oh, right on. Go ahead.
So here's the one-eyed pyramid. Can everybody see that? Okay. So when you look up the first, it's called the Eye of Providence, or the all-seeing eye of God, is a symbol that depicts an eye, often enclosed in a triangle and surrounded by rays of light or glory, meant to represent divine providence, whereby the eye of God watches over humanity. Okay, well, now when you look it up, uh, it says this. That was probably the main uh, description of what it was, to make us all think that that was God. But if I had to say that this thing has never meant that, that's what I would want to say, my own opinion. Now, when you look up when you look up the meaning today, another description of it, when I looked it up, is the eye of providence. In time elapsed between creating the Great Seal and putting its imaginary on the $1 bill, imagery, excuse me, on the $1 bill, the eye symbol had changed its meaning. It had gone from being the eye of providence, God's protective eye looking down all over us, to being an exclusively Masonic symbol of God. Okay, so I was correct with that. So it went from one meaning to another meaning.
What does it mean when Hollywood stars cover one eye, though? Would you like to hear my angle?
Sure.
The word I-E-Y-E, letters have numeric value. The word I equals 35. The 35th president of the United States was who?
I don't know.
JFK,
Okay.
right? But sometimes they cover one eye with the OK sign, right? Which looks like 3 sixes, 666, right?
Right, and then they also do the covering the lips, and then they do the Mason handshake, and then they also do the one where the men tuck their hand inside their business.
Right. And the sh sign is symbolic for secret, right?
Right, right,
So you've got JFK, I equals 35.
right,
JFK was the 35th president of the United States. Okay.
right,
Add up the numbers 1 through 35 equals 630. Okay.
right,
Lyndon B. Johnson became president the day JFK was killed.
right,
He became the 36th president. Add up the numbers 1 through 36, and you have 666. Covering one eye is symbolic of a pirate also. The original meaning of the word pirate is enemy to all mankind. Thoughts?
Yeah, that's
Mind blowing?
it's pretty heavy. Yeah.
I equals 35. It's a symbol. But when you see movie stars do this in these pictures, they're symbolizing the murder of JFK
Right.
and the takeover of Lyndon B. Johnson, who, when you add up the numbers 1 through 36 presidents, right? 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, etc., equals 666. So you've got a few bullseye coincidences there.
Right. And then it seems like I'm sure some people have known through time what's going on,
Oh,
and the
for sure.
masses didn't know. But obviously, we know that when 45 got in, he did his job as being the shaker. And now most of us have been informed that don't know, that understand that they have to tell you what they're doing. And so now they just have it wide out in the open. I mean, I told you the
Right.
other day that all the movies that I've been watching, if you look in the background now that I'm looking for a lot of the movies that were done in the 90s and the 2000s, you can definitely see,
It's everywhere.
right. You see him wearing a t-shirt with the symbol with the eye. You see, I saw the one of the comedies that a lot of us know. In the background, they had posters of Katy Perry, Oprah, and I think Ellen doing the symbolism with the mouth. Yeah, so now I see it everywhere. But what's important about our video today is that we're addressing the fact that all of us see this and now people are waking up to it. But the main objective of the video today is to talk about the numbers. And many people that view this video later or watching now, uh, this is the DS, the K-Bali, this is, we see them doing things, but you're going to explain today, perhaps maybe shed some light on how they do it and why they do it because of the numbers. And it's really dark. I have to tell you, Michael, a lot of people, they don't know numbers. They shy away from this. And this to me is one of the most critical parts that people learn and understand. There are a couple other YouTube channels out there that are doing it, like Negative 48 has done it before. And then I think on the Psych Club, the numbers guy, he's pretty good. But, and they understand what's happening to a point. But then it really goes much deeper than that, wouldn't you say?
It's in plain sight, and you can see it, but you can't see it. And I'll address when you bring up the pictures of the 9/11. I'll explain when when it dawned on me.
Okay.
That this symbolism was in plain sight everywhere.
Right. And you and I met, and a lot of this starts from our birthday. And your birthday may determine whether you're, should we say, on the white team or the black team, perhaps.
But for now, we'll stick to how they use their birthdays.
Okay, yeah, we won't get into
You see a
mine.
number
Okay.
in public or in like on television, it means nothing to you. But after this video, that will change.
Right.
And like I posted on True Social today, that this information, it's not fun time circus. It's depressing. It's disturbing. Right. But I think it's important that we know what we're up against. This isn't just Democrats who seem to not know what they're doing and fake Republic. It's way, way, way deeper than that, as people already know. But this will shed even more light on what kind of people we're dealing with.
Right. Okay, so I'm going to go to the images that you sent to me, okay?
Right. And if there's anybody watching the live, if you have questions, go ahead and type them in. Anybody who watches this later, if you have questions, just type them in the comments below after after we're done here or whatever. You can ask questions in the comments below the video, and we'll address them at a future date. No, of course I'm not chain smoking. Symbolism hidden in plain sight. We're about to see.
Okay, so are we here? Let me
You're
see
gonna
if this.
bring up that first picture with no numbers on it.
Let's see if this works. No, we'll go back to this one. Okay. Let's see if this works now. Let's do this.
All right, there's the famous photo op that a lot of people will remember. Looking
Okay,
at
so
it,
I made it bigger for everybody.
okay, I can see it pretty clearly. Looking at it, you wouldn't know that, you wouldn't believe how much symbolism is buried in this picture. You get one little bit of a clue, but when someone looks at the number 164 on the fireman's helmet, it doesn't mean nothing to them, right? So
Right.
it just goes over your head. And let me tell you how this dawned on me. I had already been plugging in these formulas for a year when I was watching Fox News in 2019, and it was 9/11, and Fox News brought this picture up. And when I looked at the fireman's helmet, I knew immediately. Okay?
Because of the, I won't spoil it. You continue.
Because of the number 164, I knew immediately what that was symbolizing. So in this one photo op, and now think about this. After you see this next picture that's labeled with numbers, and we'll explain it, you'll realize what kind of people we're dealing with. So if you want to bring up that next image.
Okay, so we'll move on to the next one.
Yeah, this doesn't need to be dragged out for hours. This is simple. Once it's explained and you see it, it's just ridiculous. It's fourth grade math.
Okay, so we're moving on.
Okay, there it
There
is. A
we
different
go.
angle. Same photo op, different angle. Let's start on the left. This is 3 days after 9/11, 9/14/2001. They're standing on the still smoldering pile of the World Trade Center destruction. So we got George W. Bush with the megaphone on the left. He was born on day 187 of the year. 187 doesn't necessarily mean anything to a lot of people until you realize that 187 is police code for murder, homicide. Okay. There's one coincidence, right? That's not enough. You go over to the fireman. Let's start with the fireman. His birth date is 9/21 with the number 164 on his helmet. Okay.
Right.
9/21. Revelation 9/21, interestingly enough, talks about murder. Neither repented they of their murders, nor of their sorceries. Notice it says, nor of their fornications. Yeah, it's giving you a clue right there what kind of people they are. And it's as if they're confessing it in public. Okay, nor of their thefts. Okay, so we got fireman's birthday, 9/21. Number 164 on the fireman's helmet. Okay. Revelation 9:21 just happens to be the 164th verse in the book of Revelation. There are 404 verses in that book. 9:21 is the 164th. Okay, so we got three coincidences, three bullseyes in this one photo op. Now we move down to George W. Bush's father, George H.W. Bush, was born on day 164 of the year. Okay, so let that sink in. Let's go over it again. George W. Bush, born day 187, also police code for homicide. Fireman born on 9/21, 164 on his helmet. Revelation 9:21 is the 164th verse of Revelation. George H.W. Bush, born on day 164 of the year.
Yeah, it just goes, it all connects and it goes in a circle.
Yeah, once it sinks in, and this doesn't even scratch the surface. Once I started plugging in these formulas, the floodgates opened. So this doesn't even script. We can do video after video,
You
and
got
we'll keep.
hundreds of them. I've seen them.
Yeah, right. So
Right. So if anybody watching this video, if you take a moment and you write this down as he's saying it,
do the
and
math
you're a
yourself.
visual learner, you'll see it.
Count the verses in Revelation yourself. Confirm what I'm telling you. George H.W. Bush was born in a leap year, 1924, which makes his birthday 6/12, the 164th day of the year. There's a lot of bullseyes. What do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4 bullseyes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 or 5 bullseyes
Right.
in that one photo.
And anybody, and I've seen hundreds of these that he's done. I asked him to bring one that was familiar to most of you. And then I also wanted to point out when Mr. Marilago puts out a statement. I've watched you do this, Michael, since 2020. I know you've been doing it before I met you, all through 21 up to now. When he mentions somebody, perhaps at one of his rallies or in a speech, or when he sends out the statement and he calls someone out,
Right.
you go and look at their birthday. Like he just called out Nancy Macy, which we went over in our last video last night on your Twitter. You figured her numbers out.
Right.
But then also you want to talk about the person we were talking about last night's birthday, Bernovich, the one
Yeah, that's one of the most obvious ones. Donald Trump, Mr. Mar-Lago, put out one of his statements that he's been doing since they banned him, right?
right.
And in the first line, he calls out Arizona Attorney General Mark Bernovich. I didn't even keep reading. I just went straight to Mark Bernovich's Wikipedia and looked up his birthday. First coincidence, Mark Bernovich shares a birthday with JFK Jr. Okay, so I notice his wife's link is also in the Wikipedia page. So I click on her. She was born the very day RFK was assassinated. So you've got two interesting bullseyes right there. How did I know to go look at their birthday? Right? Because I just happen to be paying attention to these guys that have been talking to us for the past 4 years. They all know I didn't discover that. I don't think I'm the first to discover this. I think they already know this. I mean,
Okay.
the letter said symbolism, their need for symbolism will be their downfall. They already know all of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
For how
Okay. And
long, who knows? But
right. And then I wanted to ask you, we had this discussion. And I did bring up his birthday. Can you see it on the screen? November 25th, 1966.
right, yeah, boom, coincidence, right? Look up his wife's birthday.
And what's her name?
Go to the Wikipedia page. Her link is on that Wikipedia page.
What's her name?
I don't remember. Just click on the Wikipedia page and she'll show her. You'll see her name linked.
Susan. Hold
Go
on.
ahead and type that in. Bring up her
Susan.
Wikipedia, whatever you got to do, and you'll see June 6th, 1968, the very day RFK was murdered.
Bear with me
So
here.
we've got, in this one video, we've got 7 bullseyes, and we haven't even begun. I've told
Okay, there
people
she is.
I lost count long ago, 2 years probably.
Okay, and there are some people out there that know what you know, but I believe it's a small number. It's a lot of people, but it's a small number. And the reason why this is important for anybody watching is because this is how they work. It isn't just the symbolism. The symbolism is easy for us to see and understand, but and that for what they're doing. So
Once it's explained, it becomes 4th grade simple. Right. But what it exposes is what kind of people that we're dealing with here. It's a numbers ritual murder cult.
and then what you said,
And they've been doing it since before most of us were born.
Yep. Our opinion disclaimer, fair use, YouTube, fair use for information, teaching, scholarship. So I have her birthday up there.
Yeah, that's the very day that RFK was assassinated. Weird coincidence. The attorney general, her husband, Mark Brnovich, who is taking forever to indict on the you know what in Arizona. Why is he taking forever? Look at their birthdays.
So they're not, perhaps,
They're
our
not on the
opinion,
team.
they're not
They're
who they
not
say
on.
they
They're
are.
not on
Right.
the team.
Right. Not on our team. Now,
They're
then
disguised as Republicans.
right. And then remember you were talking, you were saying that when they do these things by the ritualism, you said that they were mocking.
They're mocking us. They're mocking God, and they're mocking us.
Mm-hmm.
They never thought she would lose.
And then I wanted to ask you here, and we kind of already know the answer. We've had so you think Mr. Marilaga knows these numbers?
Oh yes, 100%. It's why he called him out. And
Mm-hmm.
I won't go into why I know that. It's just, no, I don't have any secret intel, but 2 plus 2 is always 4. Like I said
Right.
earlier, I happened to be paying attention what these guys were saying to us, and I kind of had a head start on this type of thing too, because some strange coincidences happened to me in 2010, and that's when I started beginning to pay attention to numbers. And for anybody that's like in the church, I've talked to like church people, church leaders, and they get spooked when you start bringing numbers up, right? They call it numerology and that it's of the devil, is what I've heard them say.
Right. They're always telling us it's evil, but when it's
Right. But I mean, Revelation 13:18 says, let him who hath understanding count the number of the beast. I mean, how are you going to count without looking at numbers? If it's 666 is the only thing, well then why do you need to count? Because what that scripture is telling you is that the beast uses numerology, and this beast isn't one antichrist that's coming off in the future. Think logically. These people have been here since before we were born.
right.
The thing, people watching this know the things that they're accused of doing. right? How is the Antichrist yet future? If these people don't qualify for Antichrist, no one will ever,
Right.
you know, qualify in the future. I mean, it's like we're waiting for CNN to announce the arrival of the Antichrist during Saturday morning cartoons or something. It ain't never going to happen. Your pastor ain't never going to announce it correctly. CNN ain't going to announce it because it's never not been here. It's always been here.
Right. It's the
Okay.
opposite
We're waiting for the return of Jesus, not the return of the Antichrist, right? Use logic. The headlines alone in some of these churches, I won't mention it. If that don't qualify for Antichrist, nothing will ever. It's not going to be this movie of the week person. Antichrist is not one person. It's many people. And Paul the apostle pointed that out several times. He said
right.
there
And
were,
then
when he wrote those books, he said there are many antichrists now. You and I can be antichrist.
right. And this is where it goes on. And I know this is the red pill of all red pills that people need to understand that God is there. That is very real. Jesus, our faith is. But the fact that people are talking about the earth, flat or round, round, and also the history of what we've been told, you
Oh,
also
there's
then have to open up to the fact that that things may be different than what
oh,
we're
there's
told
going to
in
be
religion.
surprises. Make no mistake. There are going to be surprises. I've said half jokingly over the years that if I know anything, it's that we know nothing, and we don't. I mean,
Right.
if people are familiar with the R drop from the past, that many people believe is JFK Jr. One of the things that was said in that drop is, regardless of what you think, you are not awake yet. Now that was posted to 8chan, to genius anons, right, who think
Hmm.
they're awake. We're not awake, but
Right.
because it has to be dripped to us, and it cannot all be given to us because it would cripple us mentally.
Right. And I'm
You
telling everybody, this is the ones that are awake that know about the famous letter. We've only been given the tip of the iceberg. They said we only
mm-hmm,
know like 20%. So what we're in right now is
if that,
huge. This is massive. It's magnanimous.
it's biblical. There's
It
no
is.
doubt about it.
Now, and I brought up, because I always bring this up to you because every time I tell people it, everybody stops. I brought up the word Armageddon. Now, when we
Nice.
break it down, it says MAGA Red Dawn, and everybody
Rearrange
walks
the
by that.
letters.
Right. People,
Rearrange the letters,
right.
right?
You use all the letters in this word. And remember, they were writing this, you know, not
2,000 years
realizing
ago.
that they were writing
2,000
it.
years ago.
Right. And explain the fact that you think that your own opinion is that they were writing from, they were right. We thought it was the beginning, but it's actually reverse. Can you explain that?
Right.
Well, what they were.
Isaiah 46:10 says the end was told from the beginning. But what people don't realize is that the Bible version before the King James, it's called the Geneva Bible, had introductions before every book of the Bible. And in the introduction to Isaiah, about, I'd say, 80% down the page, it says, in the reading of the prophets, this one thing is to be observed among others, that they speak of things to come as if they're now past. In fourth grade language, the prophets wrote in the past tense about future events and people that had not happened yet. So when we're sitting there thinking we're reading about Moses as in past tense, they were writing about a Moses from the Spirit of God who was yet to come. I mean, to swallow that is mind blowing. But then that connects with what Isaiah 46:10 says, is that the end was told from the beginning. So if the end was told from the beginning, then we are moving towards the Garden of Eden, not away from it.
And we're coming into the light rather than the darkness, because they keep
Right.
telling us that we're constantly always in darkness. Well, when do we get a break?
Right. It's been I mean, you got the prophecy teachers, destruction is coming, you know. It's always been destruction. Are you telling us it's
Mhm.
more? That's the good news. No, it's always been darkness and destruction.
Right. And then if we go back to the word Armageddon, please, everybody walks past this. Do not do that. It
MAGA,
says,
red dawn.
right. And we all know what MAGA means, right? Red,
All the letters are used.
Dawn. And who's Dawn?
What a
Dawn is
weird
Mar-a-Lago.
coincidence.
Right.
What a weird
Right.
coincidence.
And you've often said that Armageddon is for them, it's not for us.
Right. How do you
Every
catch a fish?
mhm.
Put a cryptic number in an ancient book? Yeah. God knew what he
And
was doing.
they're catching, because they mock, they're taking
Right.
the bait, right?
They expose themselves.
Right, right. So please follow me, people. This is
Now,
much bigger than what
interestingly
you
enough,
mhm.
back to that 9/11 picture, the 164th verse is Revelation 9:21, right? Which talks
Right.
about murder, theft, and fornication. They repented not, right? They just mock it by putting it right in our face in plain sight, hidden, of course, which makes them cowards, in my opinion. But then the 165th verse in Revelation talks about the 144,000 who was born on day 165 of the year.
Mhm.
Mr. Mar-Lago.
Right, you did that whole. So
Verse
he was chosen,
165, verse
absolutely
165.
chosen, and is doing and did his job and is doing his job, folks. What you're watching right now, I can't tell you. I'm not saying that nothing is going on over there on the other side of the world with the Russia dressing, but I will tell you that what in my opinion, the mainstream media is not telling you what's going on over there.
Think of the recent arrest of the CEO of Mickey Mouse. Do you think that if these crazy people were in control that that would be happening? No way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he got arrested. We went over that before. The people that were going to go after Mr. Mar-a-Lago's taxes retired, and this is the war of all wars. People say, "Oh, we're going into World War III" on the mainstream media. We've already been in this.
I think World
This
War
has
Three
already been
started.
a long time ago.
World War Three started after they
Our
killed
opinion.
JFK. I think that's when
Mhm.
World War Three started. A silent war began.
And you've got and we've got two narratives going. Somebody is going to be right and somebody is going to be wrong. You've got the doomsday, you got to prep, and I'm not saying not to do that. One's over there telling the plan of the DS, the black hats, and then you have a lot of us that are believing in the white hats, that we've got something underneath going. And I can't tell you people how to see it. People say, "Oh, you're crazy if you don't think." You know what? Why? I'm going to say something right now. Everybody, you saw what happened in the 4 years that Mr. Mar-a-Lago was in office. We fought alongside him. We saw all the harassment from all the MS constantly, right? Then we got into this thing where you had to stay home the past 2 years. And then all of a sudden you believe the same media that was,
Right.
telling untruths about him. Now you guys all believe
Suddenly,
him for the needle
suddenly,
jabba-do in your arm.
suddenly, all the Fox Newsers are agreeing with CNN.
Okay, yeah. And
How
then
weird is that?
now let's take it one more step. Now you're all sitting there, and because this is on the other side of the world and you can't see, you're now going to hang on to everything they're saying. Come on. You're not there. You can't see. Okay? You don't know if what they're showing you
Right.
was from weeks ago.
We're
or
easily
years
deceived.
ago or months ago. How do you know? You don't know. They can make a green screen that you watch all the Hollywood. How do you know? And they're pushing it so hard. Why would they continue to keep pushing it so hard? Because it's always opposite of. It's always opposite of. So, I'm going to ask you, you're going to have to make your own opinion, your own belief system. This is my opinion on what I see happening.
Speaking of silver, just kidding.
We don't sell silver here. We don't have donations, and we're not
Please send
trying
crispy
to.
chocolate
This is
chip
our
cookies.
opinion. We're sharing our information, our opinion.
My
Fair use,
intel
YouTube,
told
fair
me
use.
nothing.
Yeah.
Hey, I got this new silver website.
No, we don't sell
I'm
silver.
joking. I'm joking. You have to laugh, otherwise this stuff will drive you nuts. It's not pretty.
Exactly.
It's not fun time circus.
No, you should.
But again, we have to know what kind of people we're dealing with, because once you know there's no turning back. We're not just dealing with clowns in DC. These people are they're in a religion, and it's not a good one.
No, and they're showing you all the time.
Right.
They're showing us all the time.
They're confessing through numerology
Mhm.
publicly.
That's why it's important, people, to tune into this video, rewind, go back. We have a lot of these different
There's more to come.
number configurations that he does. I've seen many, many, many of them, and I've been wanting to come on for a long time. Not to say that the other number people aren't good, but they aren't really quite getting it to me. In my opinion, Michael is the best. He's got tons of memes that he can show you. And it's time to understand and learn about it, because it's how they've operated. It's how we've been disillusioned since we came out of our mother's wombs, right?
100%. We had no clue what we were surrounded by on all sides our whole lives.
Mm-hmm.
Our parents' whole lives, our grandparents' whole lives. This goes back over 100 years.
Yep. You just have to break everything down and step back, almost as if you're not a part of this world, and view it as an observer. And when you do that, you're able to see, because they keep pushing the Russia dressing so hard, and that's because he didn't sign on to the NWO.
Right. And now what do you see? Don't you find it strange that they were like telegraphing it the weeks before, telling us this was going to happen? Then it happened. Then all of a sudden they start throwing billions of dollars everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then he came on. I was on your Twitter. I saw it on Twitter where he was making a very soft speech to everybody about how we weren't having it right and what they're telling us over here. He was basically sending a message, Russian dressing, to everybody, telling them exactly, just a day or two ago, wasn't that? Telling us that
I mean,
what we're
anybody could have
watching
posted.
isn't.
Anybody, who are you talking about? Rasputin?
No, the leader of Russian dressing.
Right. Rasputin.
Yeah, he was basically nicely telling us, right?
But I mean, anybody could have translated that. We don't know anything is safer. We have
Okay,
no clue.
that's
This
true.
whole thing could be
Could have said anything.
BS.
Okay.
Rasputin could be over in Russia scratching his head going, what? This could be completely made up. For what reason? Again, notice they started pumping billions of dollars into the Ukraine. I mean, if it isn't more obvious than that.
Yeah,
Again,
let's see the price tag. Where's that going?
Again,
Who's that going
if you
to?
watch this video after it's live and you have questions, just post your questions or comments, whatever, in the comment section below the video. And if you come up with some questions, we'll address them in future videos.
Okay.
Well,
so we pretty much done for this.
Yeah, I mean, we could go on forever, but I mean,
No,
we don't need to.
we can't. We can.
This one reveals
A lot.
A lot.
And we're also
The 3 days after 9/11, where they're standing on the pile of the WTC with that fireman.
Yeah, in our opinion.
Ridiculous. And again, that doesn't even scratch the surface.
We can bring out and show more of your reveals a little bit at a time.
Yes, and there's
Absolutely.
so much of it that you can't put a number on it.
Mm-hmm.
Someone asked us how many coincidences before it becomes mathematically impossible. I fully understand what that means.
Mm-hmm. The famous letter. All right. Well, everybody out there, stay safe, be positive, pray, keep Jesus close to your heart, and please stand back and look at what's happening as an observer. Take yourself out of what's happening, is what I'm asking you to do to make it a little bit easier for you. Okay. We're in a very special time, and you have been chosen to live in this time. All right. Take it easy, and we'll see you next time.